Good evening. Welcome to the September 5th Town of Clifton Park Town Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pat, if you will call the roll.
Councilman Whalen. Councilman Stendhal. Here. Councilman Romano.
Here.
Councilman Wallman. Supervisor Bennett.
Here. Entertain a motion to approve Town Board meeting minutes of August 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Romano. Second by Ms. Wallowitz. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen.
Yes.
Councilman Stendhal. Yes. Councilman Romano.
Yes.
Councilman Wallman. Yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes, so it is September, as I mentioned, and summer is pretty much in the rear view. Not officially, but it is past Labor Day, unfortunately, so we're getting prepared for the fall and winter. So that means it's a busy month in the town of Clifton Park. So this coming weekend, we have Hazardous Waste Day coming up. Weekend after that, of course, is Farm Fest. We've got Shredding Day on the 1st of October. Many different events taking place throughout the month. So please follow cliftonpark.org, where all those events are posted and updated. You can also follow the town, as always, on Facebook and find those events updated on a regular basis there as well. So a lot of big happenings in the town this month. Any other communications? Okay. Very good. We'll get right to our business at hand. And this evening we have many fine gentlemen from the VFW. I appreciate you being here. And their leader this year, David Brinkmuller, is here. They are from VFW Post 1498, and David has a presentation on behalf of the VFW. Sir, if you will come forward. And is at the podium, you can say a few words. Tell us about the presentation.
Good evening. My name is Dave Brinkmuller, and I'm the commander of the Clifton Park Half Moon VFW Post 1498. Last year, our post adopted Apache Company, 2nd Regiment, 87th Infantry, 10th Mountain Division. Supervisor Phil Barrett gave us this flag, which we sent to them in Afghanistan. They operated at a forward operating post. This flag was then flung over this post as seen in this photo. This is the unit, and these are all the members. And I would now like to return this flag, which was signed by every member of the unit, as well as the photo of the unit. I would also like to thank you for all your support and the support of the VFW and the members past and present of all the armed forces. So this is the flag, as I said. It was signed. I have a picture of it flying over the post, and every member of the unit signed it. So I'd like to present this to the town.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to give you this picture.
Oh, that's fantastic. First Platoon, Apache Company, 2nd 87th Infantry Regiment, 10th Mountain Division.
Yes.
Cool.
And as I said, here's the flag.
Fantastic.
It was folded neatly until I opened it up.
Now here's a challenge for you, Dave.
Yes.
I want you to fold it back up perfectly.
That is the flag.
Let's get it around this way.
Okay.
So as you can see, this flag was signed by the members of the unit that I just mentioned, and God bless each and every one of them. Helmand, Afghanistan, 31 August 16. These are some of America's finest right here that signed this flag, just as some of America's finest are here with us tonight on behalf of the VFW. So if we could get a round of applause. So on behalf of the town of Clifton Park, I do want to thank all of these folks for their service. I want to thank you, Dave, and everybody from the VFW that's here tonight for your service and continued great work like this, showing that these people that are serving our country far overseas, I'm sure sometimes they feel forgotten. And in this case, they're not. And you're making sure that they're not forgotten and being a conduit between entities like the town of Clifton Park and these brave men and women on the ground. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's beautiful. We will fly that proudly, I can assure you. If I can get all the VFW guys up here, and we'll get a quick picture. I'm gonna take this up next. Yeah, you too, Roman. All right, we're gonna double up a little bit. Pretend you're back in the barracks and your bunks. They didn't have any walls in the men's room back then.
Go ahead.
So quiet. That's the quietest it's ever been. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Dave, or any of our VFW folks here? Anything you'd like to say?
I'd just like to thank you for everything that Clifton Park does for the post and helps us out, and the support that we do get from you guys.
Absolutely. Well, we're proud to do it, and God bless each and every one of you. You serve your country well, and can never thank you enough.
Thank you.
God bless.
Take care.
Thank you, gentlemen. How about another round of applause for our veterans, our fighting men and women. Oh, this is probably fairly close. In a pin. Oh, in a pin. If it was an actual map, I'd have a lot more problems. All right. Yeah, you're welcome to stay or go. It gets more exciting as time goes on. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's Bev. She keeps coming back for more all the time.
You're the hostess more excited.
We're going to love the topic that we'll talk about tonight.
Oh, you want to stay for Bev's speech? Thank you, gents. Yeah. Okay, we do have several resolutions for consideration tonight. Pat, if you could read through those, we'll consider each one individually.
Resolution to authorize a professional services agreement for engineering, design, and planning services relative to potential zoning amendments to the form-based town center zoning code and to transfer $10,000 from contingency. Whereas the town board wishes to explore the feasibility and authorize professional services for engineering, design, and planning to prepare form-based zoning code amendments subject to approval for an area east of Interstate 87 included in the original town center plan study area. And whereas currently there are sufficient funds in the town's contingency account to make a transfer of $10,000 to meet the needs of the study, and whereas engineering studies will provide details for the project, including organizing working group and stakeholder meetings, revisions to the study area boundary and schedule, proposed changes to tables of allowable uses, and other form-based code documents and draft materials to comply with SECRA. Now, it be resolved that the controller is authorized to make a transfer from contingency in the amount of $10,000 to this line item is listed, and to be it further resolved that the town board authorizes the supervisor to sign the agreement for the scope of services with MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC for an amount not to exceed $22,700 from the line item is listed. A resolution authorizing the installation of a street light at the entrance to the Long Hill subdivision, also known as Kane Preserve, at the intersection of Kane Terrace and Long Hill Road. Whereas the Long Hill subdivision was approved by resolution by the Clifton Park Planning Board on July 10, 2007, per the approved subdivision plan titled Long Hill Subdivision, and whereas Section 179-78A of the Town Code requires that owners and developers provide appropriate street lighting at intersections of proposed streets with existing arterial streets in accordance with an illuminations engineering study, Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation, and NICE standards. And whereas the installation of the street light is warranted at this time, now therefore be it resolved that authorization is hereby granted for the installation of the street light at the entrance to the Long Hill subdivision at the intersection of Kane Terrace and Long Hill Road, and be further resolved that said street light shall be charged to the Clifton Park Lighting District Number 1, and that a copy of this authorization shall be forwarded to the National Grid Utility Company. A resolution authorizing the animal control officer to attend the effective animal cruelty investigations and prosecutions in New York State, Oneida County, taught by the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Service, Office of Public Safety, in partnership with the Mohawk Valley Police Academy and the ASPCA. This will be the most comprehensive animal cruelty investigation course ever offered by DCJS. Whereas Teresa Cook, Animal Control Officer, has requested authorization to attend the New York State DCJS training course in Utica, New York, Oneida County, from September 11th and 12th, 2017. And whereas this course covers effective animal cruelty investigations and prosecutions, and Teresa Cook's attendance at this training course would provide a benefit to the town of Clifton Park as the Animal Control Officer. Now therefore be it resolved that Teresa Cook, Animal Control Officer, is hereby authorized to attend the effective animal cruelty investigations and prosecutions in New York State DCJS Office of Public Safety in partnership with the Mohawk Valley Police Academy and the ASPCA training course in Utica, New York, Oneida County, from September 11th to the 12th, at a cost not to exceed $300. A resolution appointing Linda DiCaprio and James Mahan as members of the Ethics Board, whereas 2 vacancies exist on the Ethics Board, and whereas both terms will expire December 31st, 2018, and whereas Supervisor Barrett recommends that Linda DiCaprio, Blueberry Lane, Clifton Park, and James Mahan, Woodstock Drive, Clifton Park, be appointed as members of the Ethics Board to fill the unexpired terms. Now therefore be it resolved that Linda DiCaprio and James Mahan are hereby appointed to the Clifton Park Ethics Board, terms to expire December 31st, 2018. A resolution authorizing a change order number 1 to contract number 2 for the Town of Clifton Park Sewer District number 1 sanitary replacement project asbestos-containing material abatement monitoring. Whereas on September 19, 2016, the contract for ACM abatement monitoring work was awarded by resolution number 225, 2016 to Professional Service Industries, Schenectady, New York, in the amount of $12,540. And whereas the project incurred additional costs in order to comply with the Department of Labor variance preparation, and whereas McDonald Engineering has verified all costs listed in the invoices for an additional amount of $996. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board hereby accepts change order number 1 to increase the contract by $996 to be paid from, and that line is listed. A resolution authorizing change order number 1 for a bio-maintenance program for 3 of the Clifton Knolls ponds. Whereas by resolution number 116 of 2017 authorized the contract for water quality improvement applications of the 3 town-owned ponds in Clifton Knolls to Burden Aquatics, Inc. And whereas Scott Reese, stormwater technician, has recommended that additional bio-maintenance treatments be performed in addition to the existing contract. Now therefore be it resolved that change order number 1 of the contract with Burden Aquatics, Inc. to perform professional services relating to water quality improvement for the Clifton Knolls ponds is hereby authorized for an increased amount not to exceed $6,400, with $4,800 to be transferred from, the line is listed, for the 3 Clifton Knolls ponds, and $1,600 to be transferred from for the Bonnie Road Golf Course pond. And be it further resolved that Town Supervisor Philip Barrett is authorized to sign the contract. Resolution accepting the conveyance of a portion of roadways and a stormwater management parcel within the Fairway Woods subdivision Phase 3 and Phase 4, subject to easements retained for driveway access. Whereas as a condition of approval for the Fairway Woods Phase 3 subdivision signed on July 12, 2007, and Fairway Woods Phase 4 subdivision signed on January 31st, 2010, the Town Planning Board required that the applicant convey lands to the town for such purposes as are incidental thereto, and for the benefit of the grantee. Now therefore resolved that the Town Board hereby accepts the conveyance of a portion of roadways and a stormwater management parcel from the Sulo Brothers Builders, briefly described as follows: a portion of Tipperary Way, portion of Fairway Fairleigh Way and a stormwater management parcel. And be it further resolved that this conveyance is expressly conditioned upon receipt of an approval by the town attorney of all necessary documents, including review of the recorded deed in the Saratoga County Clerk's Office, meets and bounds descriptions of the conveyance and retained easements, provision of title report, provisions for payment of all taxes, recording fees, and assessments which are acceptable to the town attorney, and be further resolved that there be appended to the within resolution a copy of the recorded conveyance as it has been filed with the Saratoga County Clerk. A resolution accepting an application for inclusion in the Conservation Easement Historic Preservation Program of a parcel of land located at 349 Bishop Ferry Road, Town of Clifton Park. Whereas a public hearing was held on August 21st, 2017, to allow the town board to receive comment regarding an application for a conservation easement or inclusion of a parcel of land at 349 Bishop Ferry Road into the Conservation Easement Historic Program in accordance with Chapter 125 of the Town Code as amended. And whereas the town board has considered the application and comments received, now therefore be it resolved that the application for a parcel of land located at 349 Bishop Ferry Road, Clifton Park, owned by Priscilla Kelly and known as the Shopmeyer House, is hereby accepted and is granted a 15-year conservation easement in accordance with the attached application pursuant to Chapter 125 of the Town Code. A resolution authorizing the establishment of the Visscher's Landing Park District. Whereas the town board of the town of Clifton Park proposes to undertake the formation of a park district for the Visscher's Landing subdivision to the east of Bishop Ferry Road between Greenlee Drive and Redfield Park, as described in the map, plan, and report prepared by the town's planning staff, which is on file in the town clerk's office. And whereas the maximum annual cost of the services to be performed by the park district in the first year is $3,000, and whereas the annual cost of the park district to the typical property within the district is $150, which will be financed through ad valorem assessments upon each of the properties listed on Exhibit A attached. And whereas the town board held a public hearing on August 21st, 2017, to hear all persons interested in the project at the Clifton Park Town Hall, 1 Town Hall Plaza, Clifton Park, New York. Now they be resolved, the town board of the town of Clifton Park hereby determines that 1, the notice of hearing was published, excuse me, published and posted as required by law and is otherwise sufficient. Number 2, all the property and property owners within the proposed district are benefited thereby. Number 3, all the property and property owners benefited are included within the limits of the proposed district. Number 4, the establishment of this district is in the public interest. It is further determined and resolved that the map plan and report prepared by town planning staff dated August 7, 2017 be adopted. And it is further resolved that the town board hereby approves the establishment of the Visscher's Landing Park District as the boundaries are identified within the adopted map plan and report, and approves of the expenditures for maintenance and services as outlined within the report, as may be amended from time to time by the Park District through the annual budget process, to be offset by assessments on the property benefited. Such assessments and charges to be assessed, levied, and collected in the same manner as all other charges against the district, and consistent with the engineering's map plan and report as adopted. Resolution authorizing the town supervisor to sell commitment documents for Saratoga County for collection of the town's share of the 2018 sales tax revenues. Whereas the town of Clifton Park is required to file commitment papers regarding the collection of sales tax revenue for 2018, now therefore be it resolved that the Clifton Park Town Board hereby authorizes the collection of sales tax revenue to be paid in cash for 2018 from Saratoga County, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to file the appropriate documents of commitment with Saratoga County. A resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider a license to maintain encroachment on a portion of the highway right-of-way of the intersection of Blue Barns Road and Bratt Road in Clifton Park. Whereas Simeon Slovasic has requested a license to allow a 100-plus-year-old barn to maintain its encroachment in the town right-of-way for property at 82 Bratt Road at its intersection with Blue Barns Road, Clifton Park. And whereas the state law 137G provides authority for the town board to consider a request of a revocable license to maintain the encroachment of an existing structure within the right-of-way of public streets otherwise reserved for highway purposes. And whereas Simeon Slovasic wishes to apply for a building permit to construct improvements and upgrades to the structure, including the construction of restroom and shower facilities. And whereas the town board wishes to invite public comment and input from interested parties concerning the application for a license to maintain encroachment on the highway right-of-way pursuant to New York State Town Law 137G, and it be resolved that a public hearing is scheduled for September 18, 2017 at 7:05 in the Wood Memorial Room, 1 Town Hall Plaza, Clifton Park, New York, to consider the property owned by Simeon Slovasic for a revocable license to maintain encroachment on the town's right-of-way, and be it further resolved that the property owner give notice to all adjacent property owners and other entities as provided in advance as of the public hearing, and submit receipts of mailing to the town clerk's office prior to the date of the public hearing, and to be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to publish appropriate notice of the same.
Very good. Any questions on the resolution? Seeing none, Pat, if you would read the headings, and we'll consider each resolution individually.
Resolution number 215 of 2017, a resolution to authorize a professional services agreement for engineering, design, and planning services relative to potential zoning amendments to the form-based town center zoning code, and to transfer $10,000 from contingency.
So moved. Second. Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen, and as everybody knows at this point, we conducted a study that resulted in the town center plan. The study and the subsequent zoning changes occurred over a 2-year time frame. I don't expect that this study will last nearly that long, but we're going to study and consider changes on the eastern side of the Northway. I guess it's the easiest dividing line to provide an explanation. To also look at the major portions of the town center plan and look to replicate a lot of those again on the eastern side of the Northway. There's some areas that, particularly along Fire Road, current structures, some quite old and in disrepair, that have yet to be redeveloped. And that would be one reason for moving forward with this study. But we think it's important to look at the overall picture, just as we did west of 87. We have a lot of the same situations on the east as we do the west. Properties that we would like to see redeveloped. We have fair amount of retail, mainly at the crossing. That is, some of that is in Half Moon, but most of it's in Clifton Park. We have some retail there, just as we do on the eastern, western side, that may or may not be here for the long term. And it's important that we have these options available to the town to secure additional investment and redevelopment where it makes sense. So for all those reasons, basically the same reasons we proceeded with the study on the western side, we'll proceed on the eastern side. John, anything you want to add?
No, I think you did a good job summarizing what our process will be. As you mentioned, this started many years ago with the Exit 9 corridor study that was a joint endeavor with the town of Half Moon, town of Clifton Park, that then went into the town center plan that focused on the Exit 9 area. And then when we did our town center zoning update based on the recommendations within the town center plan that was adopted in 2013, we focused west of I-87, even though that the town center plan had an area slightly greater, but again, it was a new zoning. We wanted to see how it worked. So it's been working very well. We're seeing great private sector investment and money being spent in the community, and it's worth exploring for this area of town that needs some influx of capital.
Yeah, well, I say the process won't be as long. I don't expect it will be nearly as long, but that doesn't mean that there won't be a very comprehensive public planning process either. I mean, there will be a comprehensive public planning process and that will include public meetings and following a lot of basically the same process that we followed with the study on the western side of 87. You know, it's very important, you know, what we said a few years ago prior to starting the town center planning on the western side of 87 is still true today. You know, looking back at, you know, the general economic environment and the economy in Clifton Park, in similar municipalities, 99, 2000, 2001, we certainly had a great need for redevelopment in the Exit 9 area. Many empty buildings, empty retail space, and we were able to attract investment in starting with retail, Boscov's, Target, Kohl's, so on and so forth. Starting with retail to complete a lot of the redevelopment that we desired. But the economy is in a much different place today. You know, reaching out and selling the town to prospective retailers isn't what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's not even close. There's very, very few, a handful, really, of retailers, national retailers that are expanding. Obviously, most national retailers are limiting their footprint. They're closing stores. They're not opening stores. And that continues to be a tremendous concern for municipalities like Clifton Park. So we can sit back and watch it all happen and be a victim of circumstances that are beyond our control, or we can be proactive. We can develop comprehensive plans and be prepared for new opportunities in the future, and ensure that we don't allow Exit 9 to revert back to where it was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So that's the reason for these studies. It's very important. You know, when you look at a Kmart, for instance, I wish that there were 5 or 10 big box retailers that we could go, that we could send letters to and call and sell Clifton Park to them. That's just not available today. I mean, there's very, very few of those opportunities. And we've tried, for the ones that are expanding, or at least were expanding maybe 5 years ago, we've tried, believe me. Had many conversations with national retailers that were looking to expand maybe 5 years ago. Today, they're not. So it's a difficult situation. So it's very important that Clifton Park is proactive and we have planning in place that can attract new opportunities for redevelopment and investment. Okay. So there we go. John, thank you. I'd like to get a plan of action finalized very soon and get this moving. Capiche?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other comment? Okay. Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Marwood?
Yes.
Supervisor Barron?
Yes.
Resolution number 216 of 2017, a resolution authorizing the installation of a street light at the entrance to the Long Hill subdivision, also known as Kane Preserve, at the intersection of Kane Terrace and Long Hill Road.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallace.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Marwood?
Yes.
Supervisor Barron?
Yes.
Resolution number 217 of 2017, a resolution authorizing the Animal Control Officer to attend the effective animal cruelty investigations and prosecutions in New York State and Oneida County, taught by the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, Office of Public Safety, in partnership with the Mohawk Valley Police Academy and the ASPCA. This will be the most comprehensive animal cruelty investigation course ever offered by DCJS.
So moved. Second?
Moved by Ms. Wallace, second by Mrs. Standard. Terry, you ready to attend this course?
Absolutely.
Well, it has big billing. This will be the most comprehensive animal cruelty investigation course ever offered by DCJS.
Only one they've ever offered.
Could have mentioned that.
Why are you raining on their parade? They're obviously very proud
But I want to
of
be
themselves.
upfront. I mean, there's
Well, they're very proud of themselves here.
Yes,
and
they are.
You're raining on their parade.
I hope they're.
I didn't know it was their only one, but, you know, I would have figured they had years and years of fantastic courses, but this was the most comprehensive ever. All for $300.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Dr. Bear?
Yes, well, if it's not very good, I guess it might be their last, so let us
Very well
know.
be.
Let us know if it's any good, will you?
I'm driving out to Utica. It better be good.
Resolution number 218 of 2017, a resolution appointing Linda DiCaprio and James Mahan as members of the Ethics Board.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Mrs. Standard, and we've recently lost two folks from the Ethics Board. Bill Pomeroy, long time chairman, and we miss Bill terribly. He was just a fantastic individual that served the community in many ways, and so we did lose Bill. He passed away. And then we also had a resignation this summer as well, and so that left us with another longtime member, Mark Goldstein. That left us with two openings, and so some back and forth and contacting people that might be interested. Linda DiCaprio and James Mahan have agreed to serve, so we appreciate their willingness to step up and serve the town. You know, we've had long-term members. We still do have one, that 25 years plus on the ethics board. So we've had a lot of continuity on that board over the last couple of decades. Any discussion? Okay.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Dr. Bear?
Yes.
Resolution number 219 of 2017, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 to contract number 2 for the Township of Park Sewer District number 1 sanitary replacement project, asbestos containing material abatement monitoring.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Wallowit. Now, Mike, we had some asbestos monitoring, quite a bit of it, through the sewer project, $1 million plus over in Clifton Knolls, and thankfully came to an end. And I know there was tremendous struggle with the water table, and we lowered the ponds, we lowered the waters receded. We have that power.
That's right.
And it's a whole trying to bring down the water table in the neighborhood, which is why we did the large project on Barney, was to give us the ability so we could lower the water table further. That was about, 8-9 years ago, I guess.
It's been a while, yeah.
So that worked to a point, but then the incredibly wet weather didn't help.
No.
So I know they had some struggles that way, but there was also a tremendous amount of asbestos abatement as well, correct?
Correct. We made preparations for that. As you can see, this is obviously a change order from a contract for the asbestos abatement. During the project, the Department of Labor, in a routine inspection, changed. They felt that the pipe was of a condition that required a change of how we do things. Not us, but the contractor. And that put some extra burden on the inspectors that was outside the scope of the original contract. And so that's why we're seeing this $996, which is an unforeseen circumstance. I'm not too familiar with the permitting processes, but there was a change in how they did it, and it just created a little bit more labor on their part. So it's a small amount of money, but we did plan for it. It's just we didn't plan for this small change. And it was only for a small section on on upper part of Oleo.
Mm.
But it held us up for a couple days and we got
Yeah.
it straightened out.
I think those were 2 of the dry days. too.
They were,
Yeah.
yes, it was incredibly
I mean,
wet.
if they held us up on wet days,
You got
that
it.
would have been fine.
You
But
got
since there weren't too many this spring and early summer.
And just for the board, all the pipe that was removed in this project was asbestos concrete pipe. So every piece has to be removed, bagged properly, and disposed of in a proper place. So we anticipated that. We have to have an inspector to inspect. The contractor's inspector, it's a multi-layer federal type thing. And this is our contractor that we're paying. So the excavator company pays their own contractor, and that's their own deal. So.
Very good. Well, I was definitely glad when that project ended. And,
Yes, sir.
Now, at this point, I know we had some settling issues. Those
Yeah.
pretty much done.
I believe so. The engineers took a drive, and there were a couple spots they wanted to just tune up a little bit, but I think, they'll give their reports to Dan, and, I think we're solid. I think waiting was a good move.
Mm.
So, with the wet weather and everything else, it was a good move. So.
Yeah. Okay, good. Very good. Any questions on that? Okay, good.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 220 of 2017, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 for a bio-maintenance program for 3 of the Clifton Knolls ponds.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen, and Scott Reese has been working very closely with the folks in Clifton Knolls on this project. We do want to treat the ponds once again, and it is, of course, Mike was just talking about new regulations and changing regulations that add to the cost. Same here. DEC has many new regulations and steps that you have to follow, and the process to get approval was much longer this time than in the past, so I think we're finally there. Okay.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 221 of 2017, a resolution accepting the conveyance of a portion of roadways and a stormwater management parcel within the Fairway Woods subdivision Phase 3 and Phase 4, subject to easements retained for driveway access.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Wallowitz. Anything to add here, Jeff?
Just that Fairway Woods is a 2002 subdivision with phases 1 and 2 previously being completed and accepted. And phases 3 and 4 began in 2010 and are just completed, so we're taking the last phases of this project at this point in time.
Very good.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Holloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 222 of 2017, a resolution accepting an application for inclusion in the conservation easement historic preservation program of parcel of land located at 349 Bishop Ferry Road, Town of Clifton Park.
So.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Wallowitz. This is a 15-year conservation easement for historic preservation. We've spoken of this house a few different occasions over the last year. It's down here on Bishop Ferry Road. And this home was added to the town's historic register. We're very pleased to be partnering with the Kellys, and we offer these easement programs to offset the cost of the preservation of some of our historic structures. Being able to partner with private landowners and homeowners is very important to the preservation of the history of the town and the structures. So, anything you want to add?
Yeah, the only thing I would mention is, homeowners, when they join this program, they do subject themselves to review, depending on what work they're doing, to the Historic Preservation Commission. And I would just point out that, it's a job the commission members take very seriously. Just a couple of weeks ago, actually, 3 or 4 of them went out to a house on the weekend, on a Saturday, to look at shingles on a house and to help the homeowner find appropriate building materials to match historical accuracy. So, just to put in the plug for the Historic Preservation Commission. and the dedication of those volunteer members and the work that they do. I think sometimes historic preservation folks and municipalities get a bad rap trying to impose their vision on homeowners, and I'm proud to say that
Or
here,
their will.
or their will. And I think here they're much more collaborative and happy to work and educate homeowners, and there's a great back and forth in this town. I think everybody's been part of this program. One exception, perhaps, has been very, 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 very happy.
Good.
Well, no, he didn't join the program, so never mind.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right, any further comment? Okay, Beth?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standor? Yes. Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Walbert?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 223 of 2017, a resolution authorizing the establishment of the Vissers Landing Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Walowitz. We did have a public hearing at our last town board meeting. We had a few different people that spoke, and the feedback was very positive, as it was when we had a separate neighborhood meeting here back in 2016. And I did recommend to them, and also to Judy Hughes. Judy could not be here at the public hearing. She was at the meeting prior to that. But when she was away, but when she got back, she contacted me, and I told her that I recommended to the folks that were here that they should have a meeting to pare down and establish some of the priorities that are important to them as far as maintenance goes in the neighborhood for not only next year, but 5 or 10 years into the future. And I offered that the town would be a part of that meeting, or perhaps they'd rather meet on their own. But in either case, a meeting to nail down some of the details that were discussed in the public hearing and other conversations, I think is very important. So they are going to do that, and be a good result for the neighborhood. Okay. Any further discussion?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standor? Yes. Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 224 of 2017, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign commitment documents with Saratoga County for collection of the town's share of the 2018 sales tax revenues.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. I think we want our share, our small share of the county's sales tax.
We do.
I think we'll get any no votes on this, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Walowitz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution number 225 of 2017, a resolution scheduling the public hearing to consider a license to maintain encroachment on a portion of the highway right-of-way of the intersection of Blue Barns Road and Brett Road, Clifton Park.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Romano, second by Ms. Walowit. I spoke to a representative of the owner of the structure recently and asked him to send a letter to us, which he did, and Glenn's here tonight. I don't know if you wanted to say something tonight, Glenn, or maybe wait till the public hearing at the next meeting?
I think I'll give my presentation at the public
Okay.
hearing. But, I just thought I'd be here in case there were any specific questions.
Sure, thank you. I won't get too far into the details, but in basic terms, the owner of the Blue Barn on Blue Barns Road, hard to miss, right? Why they named it Blue Barns Road. So, well, what came first, the barn or the road? Do you know, Bev? You know that.
Barn.
Yeah, right.
The barn's about
Chicken and the
100
egg. I'm sorry, Glenn?
I think there was a roadway, the Blue Barns Road was there before, but it wasn't called Blue Barns Road. But the barn is about 135 or 40 years old.
Right, yeah. So, now the building actually encroaches on the right-of-way. And the owner of the building applied for a permit to do some interior upgrades. Permit was denied because the building encroaches in the right-of-way. So the public hearing will hear comment related to the town approving a license to maintain so that they can maintain the encroachment on the right-of-way. And an approval by the town board would allow the owners to complete the upgrades that they desire. So we'll have that public hearing on September 18th. And I can tell you, Glenn, I think the sense is that we certainly do want to work with the landowners on this item. I think by doing so, we just talked about historic preservation. So I think, in working with the owners of the property, we'd be going a long way in helping to preserve a very historic building with has a very high profile in town, and I think people want to see the building stay. So, and as far as we're concerned, I don't see where it encroaches or affects the roadway whatsoever.
Well, for 150 years, people seem to be able to get by it, so hopefully
Yeah.
anybody comes down now and says it's interfering.
As long as it doesn't get up and move closer to the road, we should be okay.
I told it to stay
But there's a
put.
guardrail there, so it'd be tough for it to get on the road anyway. But, so we look forward to working with you on that, and
appreciate it.
we'll talk more about that at the public hearing. Okay, Pat?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Romano?
Yes.
Councilman Marlwood?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes, okay. Any other business to come before the board this evening? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on it. Bev's gonna raise her hand. If you'd like to speak on a town matter, please raise your hand. Come on up, Bev. Please state your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. So how you doing tonight?
Thank you. Beverly's up, 468 Miller Road, Rexford, New York. I just want to say that many years ago, I used to live in Schenectady on Rankin Avenue. We used to take bus number 10 and would ride out to Blue Barns and 146 and get off the bus there and then walk all the way down to Blue Barns Road and ride horses.
Ah,
Because for years it was a riding cycle. And
wow.
then we'd walk all the way back and catch the bus back into Schenectady. That was before my dad bought the farm in 1950.
Wow.
But anyway, the subject I have to talk about tonight is not discussed in polite society.
Uh-oh.
This
Should
morning,
we shut the camera off?
no,
Oh.
no. On Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, I'm at the senior center at 7:30.
Yeah.
I park my car this morning and I get out, and lo and behold, what do I see? But lawn sausages. Do you know what lawn sausages are?
I can guess.
Okay, dog poop.
Yeah.
Okay. So people do walk their dogs there, and it's a beautiful facility for a lot of things. But if you're going to walk your dog there, would you please learn to pick up the excrement, the poop, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't belong on the sidewalk or on the lawns for that matter. We just got new carpeting in the senior center, and if you don't see it and you step in it, it's hard to get out of the carpet. So I know there's not a lot of people here tonight, and I don't know how many people are watching at home, but that's all I have to say. Oh, and
I'm sorry, go ahead.
guess what? Carry a bag with you, you know, a plastic bag. All you have to do is pick it.
Yeah.
It's easy as that. And then take it home with you. Don't drop it in the garbage that's on the facility, because they get filled up after a while. And then the poor men that work there have to empty your dogs out of their whatever.
Exactly.
Okay?
I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, it's just frustrating.
Well, an overwhelming percentage of dog owners are very courteous,
Yes, they are.
and they
I
make
have
sure
to.
that they don't leave any presents behind for anybody, but there is a small percentage. We get complaints once in a while about dogs on people's lawns and things
Yes.
of that nature, different parks. Not every dog owner is.
No, they're not.
No.
But that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Pam? Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Standard? Yes. Romano?
Yes.
Marlwood?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes, thank you.
Show for the